Well, hey there, everybody. Today we're doing a long overdue update on the Mount Fuji sign. It's been almost 3 years since my last update, and I have been working on it here and there and shooting clips as I go along, but the clips didn't really fit together in a coherent manner, and I got stuck on the editing. What I ultimately decided to do was to split the clips into separate topics, and what you'll see is some clips in this video and the other clips in a future video. So, but here it is, and hope you enjoy. All right, so all the tubes have been removed. And now I'm going to take out the glass housings. They will be cleaned and refurbished or replaced if they're broken or missing. Then we'll take off the tube stands. Then while all that is removed, we'll hang paper on the face of the sign and then trace patterns from the sign. All right, sometimes when these housings have been inside the sign and the weather for, like this one, almost 50 years, these retaining rings get a little rusty. This one right here is just that case, and it needs a little persuasion. I'm going to use this and a dead blow hammer. See if that impact broke it loose. Yep, sure enough. Go. See, it's pretty crusty, so there you go. All right, and how do I clean the housings? By boiling them in acid. Okay, it's acetic acid, just vinegar. Now these are rolling. I'll turn them down a little bit, but let them boil for a little bit, and then turned off the heat and let them soak overnight. And then we got the housing rings here. And I'm gonna soak them in evapo-rust. So that easy way to get rid of rust. And let that sit. We'll hit them with a wire brush after they're done. All right, let them soak overnight. So all that crud should be nice and soft. Hit it with the the brass brush bristle brush to get it the rest of it off. These are looking pretty good. Some of them still got some rust on them, so I'll hit them with this nylon brush to get the bulk of it off, and then soak them again. All right, and here's what they look like after brushing. Nice and shiny again. Like on these galvanized rings, housing rings, you can see, maybe you can't, but there are darker spots where the galvanization is gone, where the rust used to be. But they cleaned up quite nicely. Ones that were super rusty, like this guy, the rust is gone. For the most part, the heavy rust is gone. There's some little small pitting that I'll toss it back in the evapor-rust, let it soak some more, and hit it up again. So, but yeah, like this set, ready to go back in action. That vinegar helps clean the glass too. It helps remove any paint that may have been on the housing. Some kinds of paints can have ingredients that conduct electricity, so that's the last thing I want with high voltage. And some of these number 300 pigtail housings are in various stages of disrepair, like the wire has come off, or the fawn stock clip has come off. These are the spring-loaded clips that grab onto the electrode wires. So what I've been doing is just If they're broken, I'll just desolder that off, thread the wire through there again, and then solder it back together. And you get a functional pigtail housing. The ones where the wire has broken off, like so. Crimp on another ring terminal and reattach it that way. So those are pretty simple. There's another one. Okay, so took the tube stands off, hung this tracing paper on, and traced the outline of the paint, and also more importantly, the housings. Those have to be spot on for the electrodes to hit right into the housing. So I'm going to lay this on the bench, face down, and then trace the tube on top of it. Alright, and since my drawing a pattern videos are the least popular on the channel, we skip to the finished product. And this is what we got. It turns out the electrodes on the existing tube, when they were placed correctly on the housing marks, the tubes didn't really fit into the painted parts of the sign very well. And I don't know, maybe this has been broken and repaired several times, and I decided to freehand a brand new pattern off of the painted marks on the sign. So I decided also to take a little bit of artistic embellishment. You can see slight differences. This is just simple curves. I made it a little bit more complex, and I wanted to make it to look a little bit more like the brush strokes of traditional Japanese calligraphy, which is what this is supposed to mimic. So, but yeah, that's what we got, and now we only have, I don't know, what, 4 more other ones to do. All right, I can get ready to take these tube stands off, and you can see where they split the tube, and they used to be, has 2 housing holes, one there and one there for the word Fuji. It's supposed to be one tube. And at some point they split it into the F and the UGI, but they bent the UGI tube wrong, and then it didn't fit the housing, so they just drilled an extra hole into the sign for the electrode. You can see there's some rusting, corrosion, oxidization due to the corona discharge of the high voltage electricity. But you can see where they moved the tube stands. Like, this is the original spot. They moved it here, moved it here, from here to here, here to here, because they messed it up and had to jerry-rig it to make the tube fit. So I'm going to be fixing that issue, and I'm going to make the pattern one tube again, because that's how this sign was designed. Alright, well, here's the word Fuji. This one took a long time, and I don't know if I don't think it looks quite as good as the word mount, but these long sweeping curves are kind of really hard to freehand. So I didn't mention it before, but these hashed out marks, it might be obvious, but those are lifted off the paper. Those are going to be blocked out with paint, so they won't be visible. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do with those dots above the I and the J. I was thinking about doing a little circle, like a really small circle, but then it was going to be double stroke, so it would look double stroke on each one, but then none of the other letters would be double stroke. So I decided against it, and I just went with a little bit of kind of a apostrophe or whatever you want to call it. But that's Fuji. Here's the pattern for the word in. All right, doing the Mai Tai, and I decided to try this. Hung it up and just put dots at all the corners of everything, and I'm gonna measure the width of the font and then use a ruler to kind of sketch it out on the page instead of trying to trace every letter on the paper. I'll just go with these indexing marks and see what I can do with that. All right, looks like the tube fits in the pattern, so that makes me feel pretty good about it. I decided to just draw the pattern off the sign because the tracing the tube is, the tube is only as good as whoever made it, and this one's been repaired several times, so I thought I'd start fresh. Looks pretty good to me. Mai Tai, man, those Mai Tais were good. Over the ingredients: rum, pineapple juice, and 151. Limit of 2. 2 was plenty. Trying to crawl up those basement stairs from the from the dive bar. Anyway, that's Mai Tai, and got all the index marks for lounge. It's upside down right now, so got to draw that one out next. And it's a good thing I didn't trace the tubes, because when the electrode's properly centered, this one doesn't even fit the pattern. So tubes that were on there were kind of sloppy. I'm glad I made new patterns. Of course, I'll probably just repair that. I'm not quite to the level of the confidence level of making an entire tube like this. So I do know how to weld and repair and process. I'll probably just put that E back on there and repump it for now. Of course, I'll make all the tubes again eventually, but there's the pattern for lounge. All right, and that's it. I'm going to end the video here because I don't want to keep dragging it on. So hopefully I'll keep the topics limited to just one thing, and we'll get the updates out a little more frequently. So I wanted to mention, I got a friend from Germany who recently started a neon sign channel. He speaks very fluent English, and if you want to go check it out, it's called Neon Sign Stuff. I'll put a link in the description below. So if you like my videos, I'm willing to bet you'll like his as well. Well, anyway, thanks again for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.